Morning, good afternoon, good evening, good day, dear grinder, dear viewer. Thank you for joining us for this fireside chat with Ben Smith from SaltyLama. More on that further on. But first, a few housekeeping notes about Startup Grind. Startup Grind, we consider ourselves as the world's largest startup community, aiming to change the world one startup at a time. And for that, we give us our mission. Our mission is to give companies everywhere the education and opportunities they need to build, grow, and scale their companies. And we believe in making friends, not only contacts, in giving first, not taking, and believe in helping others before helping ourselves. And those who are viewing us live, you are able to use the chat function to ask your questions, comments, and so on. And during the discussion, we will take them up and we will get them into the discussion in the fireside chat. It's the advantage of being a live viewer, dear viewer. But now, without further ado, I would like to welcome Ben. Well, hey Ben, how are you?
Hi Steve, thank you very much for having me on your fireside chat. Appreciate it.
We appreciate your time with us. And in order to just dig it in, to keep the fire on and glimmering, could you just let us know, really in a nutshell, what SaltyLama is? We will delve further into it later on, but what is, for those who maybe haven't heard about it, what SaltyLama is?
Okay, awesome. So Steve, SaltyLama actually, in a broad sense, is a company which aims to become the most trusted, curated online marketplace for sustainable and sustainably made products. Right. Now, there's various phases to get there, but that is essentially what we plan on becoming.
Great, thank you. But how did you come to this idea or this venture? Because the thing is, I mean, you not get up one day and say, okay, I want to do this and so on, so on, so on. But how did you go? What was the trigger for you to think about it, to have an idea about on dealing with it?
So Steve, I think there's a couple of things, right? Firstly, I've always enjoyed entrepreneurship. I've always I've opened a couple of companies in South Africa. Originally I come from South Africa. I've been in Luxembourg for about 4 years now, after having a couple of tech startups in South Africa. Worked here for about 2 years, and then launched SaltyLama. So and how that kind of came about is that I realized in South Africa, sustainability wasn't really a big thing necessarily for me, right? Because, well, it's not really something that a lot of attention is given to, which is terrible. Because once coming here, I saw people willingly doing things like recycling, right? So they have their various bins, and you put the plastic in that bin, the glass in the other bin, the food in the other bin, etc. And I saw people actually willingly do this, which in South Africa was like, you have one bin and you put everything in one bin, and it's the norm. So seeing that, first of all, was quite a special sighting for me, right? And coming from somewhere like South Africa, where pollution and if you drive through Joburg, for example, it's very much like driving through a little trash can, right? To some extent, because everything just lies on the roads and no one really cares that much. So coming from there and then seeing what the difference is here made me realize that sustainability and protecting our planet is actually a huge thing. So that's kind of how it started. Well, with the idea of sustainability, right? With regards to me leaving my job to actually pursue a company. So first of all, SaltyLama wasn't just SaltyLama from the beginning. I had 15 ideas on a whiteboard, and the Sunday I decided to leave my job on the Monday to pursue one of these 15 opportunities, right? all of them were pretty much viable, right, at that stage. And after attempting to execute a couple of them and going through the Founder Institute program, which is the world's largest pre-seed startup accelerator, we kind of realized that none of those ideas, or I kind of realized none of those ideas were actually what I wanted to do. So we pivoted into what is now SaltyLama. Very important to note as well, SaltyLama isn't just necessarily, doesn't just aim to become this trusted or this most trusted curated online marketplace, but it's actually a community of co-creators. So what we've done here is that I am not nearly the only owner of the company, right? We actually have about 75 odd individuals across the board that that joined our company and that is creating this company together, right? So each one of them is putting 7 hours a week in, for example, as a minimum. And we decided to actually create the company like that together. And once again, coming to how the idea came to me was very much going through the Founders Institute and realizing that, you know, most founders are really stingy about their holdings, right? About, you know, but at the end of the day, 100% of nothing is still nothing, right? So I'd rather have a small part of something and also make a huge impact in the world, whilst also helping, well, hundreds of other individuals gain the same experience. Right, and that's pretty much.
Yeah, that's good. But if we take a small step back, is okay, you saw it, you eventually compared, and then how did you go about it in saying, okay, this is the way to go. This is the service, the product we would like to deliver, to offer.
Yeah. So currently, what we offer, Steve, and this is once again, so we have a three-phased approach to becoming this marketplace, right? And the reasoning for the three-phased approach is very well. There's a couple of reasons for it, but our phase one is selling our private label product range, which we are currently selling our eco-friendly laundry detergent strips, which is a plastic-free, zero-waste, lightweight alternative to your regular liquid and powder laundry detergent. So it weighs about 4% of regular laundry detergent, which brings your CO2 emissions down significantly, of course. Zero waste, plastic free, so it doesn't come in a huge plastic container. Also, it doesn't contain, like liquid laundry detergent, for example, contains about 90% water, of which these strips contain about 0 water, right? So the reason why we went for those, first of all, is that it's a huge impact, right? Once again, also, once you use this laundry detergent, it's almost like it never existed, right? That was well, one of the major benefits of going with this product. And there has been a similar product, right? There has been a similar product in that launched in the US and coming from Europe, or well, opening a company here in Europe with a similar type of idea, and scaling it here made a lot of sense, because that product is definitely the future of laundry detergent, right? And that's kind of what we offer now. However, we are planning on expanding our range to various other cleaning products, so sustainable cleaning products, in the next 3 to 4 months. And then after that, we will go into various other household products, right, which is also sustainable orientated, but more towards any type of sustainable household products. Right?
And on the other hand, I mean, if I understood it well, you're coming from a tech background. And how did you source the product? Because it's one hand to say, okay, marketplace and so on, or to become better for the climate, circular economy and so on. But how did you source the product?
So, Steve, we currently have And this is once again, right? So the idea of the entire company was to get all of these various co-creators, professionals, right? So what I did in the beginning was I posted a couple of job posts, right, just to kind of see whether this model was going to work, where various expert individuals were going to come and assist me essentially to build this company, which is now SaltyLama. To my surprise, we've had up to date about 45,000 applications across the board, from people to the likes of the ex-chief merchandising officer of Macy's New York, for example, is on our team. The head of Siemens Jamiza's CIOs is in our team. We've had the head of engineering of eBay. We have the chief operating officer of Calvin Klein, which is also part of our team. So that kind of worked quite well to get all of these various individuals together, and they actually assisted with how to source this product, right? So Stephen Binkley, for example, is our chief operating officer now. He was our chief merchandising officer. So he helped us source this product. So we currently have offices located in Colorado and Luxembourg. We also have fulfillment centers in the US, Netherlands, and the UK. Our US fulfillment comes from various locations to ensure the shortest distance of travel to our customers, right? Finding local manufacturing, for instance, in these areas is very important to us as well. However, currently we are ethically outsourcing our manufacturing to China. So we specifically looked for a manufacturing partner who has certain criteria, which our chief sustainability officer, Ivano Yanelli, actually set up for us. And then they meet all of our demands and standards, of course. And then we're also proud to say that due to the lightweight nature of our products, our carbon footprint is exponentially lower than transportation of traditional laundry detergent. Right.
Coming back to that, on one hand, it's the sourcing and so on, the production. But on the other hand, as you just touched upon, is the delivery. You are a marketplace, I guess a global one. I guess, as I understood, it's produced locally somewhere. And how did you approach the distribution, the logistic chain?
So once again, also not an easy decision, right? Also had to consult various experts because, coming from a finance and operations background in a, had a couple of tech companies in South Africa, but never retail, right? Never have I touched FMCG, so fast-moving consumer goods. So that was quite a situation to get these various third-party logistics providers. But once again, you look what's out there, you have a call with a couple of them, you see what features and functionalities is out there with regards to the tech on their side, which is very important because you get third-party logistic partners which they don't necessarily have the tech platforms that you would like to have in a logistics partner, because now, for instance, we log into our Deliver, so we use Deliver, for example, as our logistics partner in the US, and they have an excellent portal that you go on. So if we want to, let's say we have a giveaway, for example, and we want to send some product to our giveaway winner, we can also just log into the portal, make an order on there, and it is distributed within 1 to 3 days, right, to these various individuals. So the logistics behind that, then also, of course, the logistics from the manufacturing plant is also something that we are actually looking into making a bit more efficient, because it makes a huge difference what type of delivery partners you use, as well as where you deliver from, and how your entire route is to your end location. right? It makes a difference in pricing, makes a difference in speed, makes a difference in various various factors that can majorly impact your business, of course.
Okay, thank you. And on the other hand, I mean, you mentioned, okay, the partners and also the community, but how did you go about to ensure that the community is really living up to the values you want on the one hand, and also to keep them, how shall I say, interested is maybe not the right word, but to keep them engaged?
Yeah.
And not, yeah.
So, Steve, I think there's various things to keep people engaged, right? Which is, it's a very difficult task at the end of the day. You know, once again, we've had various marketing experts that have assisted us because, you know, at the end of the day, your marketing and sales departments, they pretty much keep your customers and your community engaged. But I believe that, you know, I'm definitely not saying we are there yet, but we are getting there slowly but surely. Whereas, you know, we are constantly attempting to engage with our audience. We are constantly changing our SEO, our keywords. We are constantly, you know, when people respond, I think it's very important to ensure that anyone that gets into contact with us, in order to provide some type of great customer service, whether it's customer service or any other type of service, or just keeping a good reputation, is to respond timely to whatever people are asking you, ensuring transparency across the board, right? Having a massive FAQ list, for example, on your website also helps. And yes, I mean, that's, you know, that's pretty much at this stage where we are with regards to ensuring that we keep communicating with our community. Yeah.
Okay, no, that's great. That's great. Now, I mean, it's about the certification and so on. What can we understand underneath it? Is it something like, how shall I say, like a B Corp or something like that? What do you understand under certifying?
So, see, what we have created, right, or what our Chief Sustainability Officer and his team have created for us. So this is with regards to our platform, right? So becoming the most trusted platform at the end of the day. So we have a couple of unique selling propositions, right? And I'm going to kind of start here from a side, and then I'm going to get to our eco scoring methodology that has been created. So we have a three-phased approach, right? So as I said, our B2C phase, which is our you know, online sales channels to our customers, so like Amazon, our website. We have we're on Walmart.com. We're selling all across Europe, the UK, and the USA. So that's our phase one. Phase two is our B2B side, where we are basically, so it's retail to wholesale, right, or wholesale to retail. So we are selling to various retailers. We have a couple of them in Luxembourg, like Pulse Center, for example, is one of our retailers that we are selling towards. But we actually just kicked that off very recently. So we are in chats with a couple of bigger players, mostly in the US and in Spain. So that's our phase two. And then eventually our phase three, which is going to be financially supported by, of course, hopefully some investors, which we are going through the Founder Institute's funding lab. We actually just got accepted 2 days ago, I believe, into that funding lab program, which is now starting on Thursday, in order for us to get some investment. And then, of course, from the cash flow that you generate from your private label sales and from your B2B side of things, right? All of that then builds the platform, and the platform the reason why we are doing this three-phase approach is not necessarily just because of the capital, but also because of the brand, right? So you need to build a brand before you launch a marketplace, because you can't just, there's a ton of marketplaces out there that don't have brands, right? So if I just say, well, go to this marketplace, no one's really going to go, because there's no brand behind it to actually say, okay, no, well, okay, we know this brand. Like Amazon, for example, right? Amazon is a massive brand on its own, and it's important for them, because that's why people also go to their site. So building the brand, and then the financial support to then build this marketplace. Now, some of our unique selling propositions is our brand, right, that we are building. So the SaltyLama brand, and then our onboarding methodology, right, which is our eco scoring system, which our Chief Sustainability Officer has detailed out for us. Which also, once again, there are many other eco marketplaces out there, but they don't have over 1,000 environmental and sustainability experts that are actually backing them. Okay, and due to our model, we are able to get quite a lot of partners to support us, and one of our partners that is supporting us is the ESG Foundation, which has in excess of 1,000 of these various experts who have also agreed to look at our eco scoring methodology, right? To also not necessarily just make it about B Corps or 1% for the planet, but also give access to the smaller guys. You know, because becoming a B Corp it's costly. Having all of these various certifications, it's a costly business, right? And making it so costly gives smaller guys, well, it doesn't give the smaller guys an opportunity to actually come in. So we have built this eco scoring methodology, which is still in process of being finalized, but once it is finalized, we will be able to say that this methodology is backed by X amount of experts, right? And that is why our products on our platform are actually trustworthy, right? Compared to other platforms, which, you know, they have a methodology, but they also don't. They just want to kind of make sales at the end of the day, right? And then, of course, we have a localization component, but which I can't really delve too deep in unless I actually show you our minimum viable product, right?
Okay, great, thank you. On the other hand, I mean, that's all about the product, the service, and so on, and how you intend to build it up and develop it. But what would be the business model behind? Because on the one hand, it's a community. You have been talking about the community, about partners. But in the end of the day, there are numbers coming. What is the business or the revenue model? Let's call it the revenue model behind.
So, Steve, there's a couple of revenue streams, right, that are generated from pretty much the following sources. So we have our private label product sales to both consumers and retailers, right, which is our B2C side and B2B side of our private label products. We then have, in the future, once we launch our marketplace, we will charge a small commission, right? So between 10 and 15% from the sales of the products from the various vendors on our marketplace. We have averaged, I believe, well, we have made a ton of calculations with regards to our average product fee, which comes in at about €7 per product. And then on our localization component, so we actually have a localization component where you can shop locally, where companies, brick and mortar companies, can actually list their products on our website. So we have a really nice user interface to actually switch between the two, right? So local and international or global. And this will be on a monthly subscription. And then, of course, deeper into the future, right? And once again, this is not necessarily the way to plan a startup, that's for sure, because, you know, planning a startup, you should have one revenue stream. But you should also plan in advance, of course, right? And this is pretty much what all of this is. So in the deep future, we will also have similar to Amazon, Etsy, and all of the various major marketplaces. We will also have advertising income, right? So if you have a product, you pay and you get X amount of more impressions, etc. As a result of your ad spend, right, on your certain keywords that you use. So that's pretty much in a nutshell.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, it's interesting. But you just mentioned it's not the right way to start. There's no right way. The only way to the right way is just do it. So,
That's true.
and then the other thing is you mentioned a few times the Founders Institute. Is how did you see their added value, or what was the support you received from them? And on the one hand, and on the other hand, was it the one in was Australia or New Zealand? I can't remember.
It's Benelux, actually.
It was the Benelux one. Okay.
Yes.
And what would you say their added value in order to really say, okay, that was an added value, which really eventually helped us to make 2 steps instead of 1, for example, if there is anything?
Yeah. So I think the major help of the Founder Institute program is that they take you out of your comfort zone, right? So they force you out of your comfort zone. And that's a very important lesson to learn, across the board for anyone who wants to start a company, is that, if you are not willing to get like way outside of your comfort zone, you should probably not even attempt to start a company, right? Because it does take some really uncomfortable things. For example, reaching out to your entire LinkedIn network, for example, to sell something to them, or to cold call people, for example, or to make an email list. So there's some really uncomfortable things, like for me, for example, I went to Pulse Center, right? And I stood there with a little table. And I don't know if you've seen, like in usually in like a Cactus or a Walmart or whatever, there's like a little table where they have like various snacks, and then they sell the actual product, right? Let's say it's sausages or whatever. So yes, as the CEO, that's the type of things that I also did, right? And that's the type of things that you have to go out and you have to do, to get some type of exposure and to see how it's done, right? At the end of the day, I think that you need to do all of this as a startup founder, because also you need empathy for the people that you are going to hire eventually to do these various things, right? You need not just empathy, but you need to know exactly what they're going through, so that you can support them in the right way, and know that certain things are more difficult than others. So did that answer some of your question?
Yeah, that's more than enough. It was just, and then coming back a little bit, we are startup kind of Luxembourg. We take now the Luxembourg component, and would you say that there were advantages or disadvantages in starting out of Luxembourg? Be honest. No, really, because the thing is, we learn from it, and it's not. I just give you my take. Is, in my opinion, over the last years, there's been some cocooning and fixation about the early stage, the startup world, and there's been cocooning, and so far we don't know how many of those ventures went on, how many failed, and so on.
Yeah.
So that's why, you can be open. The thing is, what would you see as advantages or disadvantages from your experience now? Now, from your experience in starting out Luxembourg, or isn't there any? That could also be.
So I think I think there's pros and cons, but there are definitely, to a certain extent, a bit more cons than pros, right? So the pros is that you learn a lot. You learn a lot about what to do and what not to do. Okay, so for example, in Luxembourg, you have about 50% odd of these people are foreigners, right? So are from various countries in the world, right, with different cultures, different ways of doing things, different languages, different everything, right? And that is not necessarily the best audience to sell a product to, because you cannot obtain a norm, right? So if you, let's say in the US, for example, right, everyone speaks English, everyone has a certain basis of who they are, right? They're an American, okay? And that's why they also have certain keywords that work for them, certain interests that work for them, certain behaviors that work for them, right? Whereas here, you can't really target your target consumer, and if you do, it's a very small, very, very small population, right? Because I mean, the entire population is only 600,000 people. So the language is a massive issue here. Secondly, applications, for example, right? So there's a lot of applications that are not available in Luxembourg, which are available in various other countries. Like for instance, I believe Google Pay, right? Google Pay, I don't know if it's available now, but I know a year ago it was not available in Luxembourg, but it was available in Germany, Belgium, and France, which is literally 10 minutes that way, 10 minutes that way, and 10 minutes that way. But as a result of our geolocation, it is not available here. So similarly with a lot of our applications, like Shopify, for example, we had to open a US entity and shift our Shopify onto that entity, which took a very long time and cost a lot of money, just to get Shopify payments working, for example, right? Various other applications that are quite an issue. And functionalities of these various applications, right? Like Facebook, for example. Also, there's various functionalities like Facebook Shopping, which is not available in Europe, actually. So Facebook Shopping, you can't just go on Facebook and buy a product off of our Facebook page, because that functionality is not available here. And because it's not available here, and because we open the Facebook page here, we cannot make it available anywhere in the world, right? So that is some of it, right? But then there are other things which I must say is advantageous. So, for example, the government here did assist us with a grant, right, which is amazing. Which, you know, once again, I'm coming from South Africa. The grant was quite significant. You know, you won't get that in South Africa probably any time soon. Maybe you'll get it in various other countries, but I mean, yeah, they did assist us significantly here with that. And then, yeah, then the learning component. I think the learning component is huge, because you learn all of these things. You know, you learn what works and what doesn't work, what your country has versus other countries. You know, you learn about GDPR, which is, for a startup, it's a nightmare. It's a total nightmare. GDPR is a total nightmare, because how do you sell your product when you don't have information available of people that you're going to sell them to? You know, you're not allowed that information. You can't just pick up 100,000 emails and just, you know, blast your product out to people. Not that that's necessarily the right thing to do, but you know, you can't really target various individuals as a result of GDPR. And as a result of people's information being protected, which is a good thing for individuals, but not necessarily for startups, right? And for the larger companies, like if you look at Google and Amazon, etc., they're just getting larger and larger because they already have the data, right? You've already consented to that data a long time ago. Whereas us startups, we need to literally beg you for it. So yes, the pros and cons. Pros and cons.
Okay, I hear you, and I can confirm what you are saying. But it's also, as you said, the learning curve. The advantage is, for example, as you said, there's no one single market in Luxembourg. Especially, you have the different cultures. You have the size of the market. Then you have the commuters coming in, which also something else, which also different culture. In fact, stemming from the telco world, Luxembourg was used by the big players as a test bed because they had all the different, as you just said, they had all the different, how shall I say, constraints, conditions, which they had in different markets. So, as you said, there's a learning curve. You're ready, and then you go abroad.
Absolutely.
And also, I mean, as you also mentioned, which is a given and which is disadvantage or advantage, you can see it like this. It's a small market, but it helps you in order to get further. As you just mentioned, I mean, your market is not Luxembourg, your market is abroad, it's global. That's why you have the community is not Luxembourg and so on. No, that's great. And the other thing is a little bit coming back on the timing. How long did it take, roughly speaking, from the concept product launch? How long did it take, roughly speaking?
So, roughly speaking, Steve, coming from my journey, my personal journey into this, right, where, I had these 15 various ideas on a whiteboard, to which none of them were chosen at the end of the day, up to where we actually launched the product. That probably took about a year and a bit. But then I believe that from the date where we had the idea of the product, right? This is also what makes it very important for any person who wants to start a company to be quite clear on what they want to do. They need to execute it really fast, see if it works, see if it doesn't work. Also ensure that you have a backup plan. So, for instance, me leaving my job, deciding on the Sunday to leave my job on the Monday, that was not the smartest move, right? So that was probably I was very lucky to get out of that situation at the end of the day. It's always good to have a backup plan because, your plans, even though some of them might sound amazing, to execute them. And I actually have a thing here at the back that says ideas are worthless without execution, right? Which is a very true statement. Everyone has brilliant ideas, but if you cannot execute, and the execution part is something that gets underestimated a lot, right?
No, completely agree. It's a good thing to have the idea, see the need, to have an idea, to go about it, but then to execute it correctly takes also the learning curve. Yeah. And on the other hand, I mean, you are mentioning very often a kind of sounding board or community and so on. As you also now stated, okay, you did it from one day to the other. You swapped and then you went to launch SaltyLama and so on. Would you say that it was, on the one hand, beneficial to have such a sounding board or community, and on the other hand, you touch a little bit upon it, but more on partners, was it hard or difficult to get such a sounding board, advice and so on?
So, Steve, I think with regards to how we set up our model, to get the sounding board, I mean, looking at, we had about 45,000 applications in, 16 to 18 months. And I mean, from people, like really, really magnificent people. So to get that sounding board isn't necessarily the most difficult part, but to not get overwhelmed by the sounding board, that's quite something, because, you know, two people can have, well, everyone has an opinion, right? So everyone out there has an opinion. Now, it's very important to also, you know, you as the founder, you need to keep strong to your opinion as well, right? Don't necessarily just take anyone else's opinion and go with it, right? So take various opinions, right? So take all of these various opinions that you receive from all of these experts, and then come up with your own conclusion, right? But stick to your own conclusion, because if you're not going to stick to your own conclusion, right, taking into account all of these various opinions, of course, but if you're not going to stick to your conclusion, the odds of it working is much less, right? Because it becomes confusing if you continuously, and even though they are smarter than you, right? Even though these various individuals that you're speaking about now, they are smarter than you. If you continuously think that, and you continuously just take advice, you must remember that, you know, sometimes one must think about who has the most to lose here, right? And if you think about, you know, if you as a startup founder, you put your entire life into something, and you have someone that, you know, gives you advice once, you know, you must take that advice with a pinch of salt, and then come up with your own conclusions, because this is what you're going to do, right? And then you execute. And I think the most important thing as well is, once you have made up your mind across all of these various opinions, is to execute, and to a major extent, right, unless you need to pivot, but stick to that conclusion, right, and stick to it and finish it. And that's also what some of the co-creators that's working with us has taught me, you know, is to stick with something. Like me, I was always, not always, but I mean, a lot of times, you know, I want to fix something quickly, or I want to execute a task, and I want to do it immediately, right? But sometimes things take time. You know, sometimes things take time, but you need to push through and actually, you know, yield a positive and successful result. Make small adjustments continuously. Something doesn't just work because of everyone's opinion and your conclusion. Make small adjustments and see whether it won't work, you know, with time. So that's pretty much the opinions. Easier to get them. Don't get confused with all of them, and stick to your own conclusion whilst taking all of them into consideration.
Great, thank you. See, time is approaching, and with these wise words, let's look into the future. What would you like to see happen, or what would you like to see to be done by you, for you, or for SaltyLama in the near or close future?
So in the near future, Steve, so as I said, we just actually activated our wholesale side of the business. So I would love to see that side of the business blossom, right? Get into a couple of major retail chains. And then we also we were recently approached by Google, actually, as a high potential scale up, right? So they are going to assist us now for the next 6 months, which is awesome. Actually, they have a very intellectual and senior team that's on our case. So that's really exciting. I'm hoping that pays off. You know, companies like Google and all of these major companies, they have the power to make you $100 million company overnight. You know, So so if they approach you, that is quite something that you have to grab onto, you know, because it doesn't happen every day. And then of course, well, Walmart. We're also in discussions with Walmart with a couple of things, which is also amazing. And what else? I think, yeah, I think one of the
That's quite a lot.
Yeah, I think one of the major things, Steve, is just that, you know, we're at a stage in the company where most startups or most companies that succeed, they have a type of a growth line that goes like this, and then all of a sudden it starts going up, and then and then it shoots up.
The hockey stick.
Yes, I feel like we're like kind of approaching that hockey stick there, right? And I think that the major thing right now is for the entire team to realize it, and for us to just continuing on.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And on the other hand, that's my last question, would be, no, you're talking about the community. Startup Grind as a community, an international community. What could Startup Grind as a community assist you in, if any?
So, Steve, I think that, you know, the major thing that would be amazing, that I think, you know, we could obviously assist each other with as well, is to just to recognize the other, right? So at the end of the day, you know, we have two major brands, or well, you guys are quite a major brand. We're still, you know, trying to get there. But I think at the end of the day, you know, it's just brand exposure. If you guys can give us some brand exposure, I mean, we're very comfortable to give you guys some brand exposure. And at the end of the day, that's pretty much it, you know.
Great. Yeah, it's still there. So perfect. Okay. So I thank you for this fireside chat, and would like also to thank the active viewers for their comments and suggestions, and dear reviewers to let us know if there's anything else you would like to know, and also if you like to interact, just join us live. Thank you very much, Ben.
Thanks, Steve. It was great chatting with you. Have a good one.
Bye.
Ciao.